Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Christian Keys has been in the news for the last week after he went on his Instagram Live and talked about a powerful potential billionaire in Hollywood who has sexually harassed him and sexually assaulted him over the years. It was a bombshell to a lot of people. It was stunning, and a lot of people spent their time trying to figure out who is this person that Christian Keys was talking about. Others said, why is Christian Keys putting out this information without giving the names of the people who were involved? A lot of people said, if you're going to make an allegation, don't start a witch hunt. Why don't you tell us who it is instead of making us wonder who it is? Christian Keys hasn't directly responded to those concerns or those criticisms, but what he did do was put out a video on his Instagram page that gives some kind of insight.
Keys was incredibly abusive. Bat, hammer, broomstick, saucepan, bottle. When the belt when it wasn't as effective as she wanted, when it didn't make us scream loud enough, she would hold the leather side and beat us with the belt buckle. It gets worse, but it was that kind of environment between 8 and 12. So by 9, I started running away. By 10, I was pretty good. By 11, I was a professional runaway. Child Protective Services, man, they dropped the ball probably a dozen times. Neighbors complained, because she would have, as a punishment, she made me walk down the street naked in the rain at 9 years old to ask a neighbor for a magazine. Things that this does to a kid, like it took a couple decades to build my self-esteem back up. And to heal from all of that, it was heavy and painful. But I was so happy to get out of there. They finally believed me. We're pressing charges, and we're at the courthouse, and she says, if you drop the charges, I will relinquish my adoption rights, and you'll never have to see me again. And I said, shit, where do I sign? The other side of that is that she kept my brother with her, my blood brother. And he had been through most of the foster homes with me. But not all of them, but most of them. And he had been adopted with me. So we were split for like 10, 11 years. I didn't see him again till, I was 22, 23.
As you can see from the video, Christian is talking about the tough, traumatic, abusive childhood that he experienced. And from his perspective, it is that childhood that makes this disclosure all the more difficult. In addition to the video, he offered some more insight on his Instagram post. This is what he said. This is from an interview I did with Atlanta Black Star a little while back. Maybe it'll be a little easier to understand why it was difficult to speak up about it, difficult to find the courage. These powerful people target people with traumatic childhoods and use that bond with them and earn their trust. Then they try their attempts. Once you go through anything like I went through for years as a kid, this new trauma can almost make you shut down again. And even though in the moment you find the strength to say no to the attempt, you still may not be strong enough to speak up or brave enough, worrying about if this person was going to take away my livelihood, worrying about how many people are out there that weren't strong enough to say no, and they actually said yes. Is this person still doing it? Still pressuring people to walk away from their integrity and their morals for an opportunity. You pray and gather the strength to speak up. And most people are in your corner and believe you. I'm not going to respond to the ignorant or negative comments that have been made. I just pray that those people never have to experience themselves or never have any family members that go through anything this traumatic. And then they have people talking ish about them who don't even know them. So there are two things that we can gather from this. One, for those of you who are looking for nuggets into who this person is, whoever it is that has abused or assaulted or harassed Christian Keys allegedly has a traumatized childhood themselves. He's saying that they prey upon him through a trauma bond. They say, oh, my childhood was messed up. Oh, I was abused too. Oh, I was harmed too. And then they come together on that bond and then they pounce on the person. That's what Christian Keys is saying. So for those of you looking for nuggets into who it is, whoever that person is probably also has an abused background, an abusive childhood that they can speak of. But the more important thing to me isn't that. I'm not out here trying to sniff out who it was. that will come out. What happens in the wash comes out in the rinse. Christian Keys at some point will make public what he wants to be made public. But what's more important and what's more interesting to me is him having to explain why he's been scared. There have been so many people out in the world who have said, look, you should have said something 10 years ago. Look, you should have said something 20 years ago. Why'd you wait so long? And I'm not just talking about everyday people. Prominent celebrities have said that. They have publicly criticized him and challenged him and even questioned the legitimacy of his claims by saying you took too long. And as we've often said, people who are victims, people who are survivors, they often are scared of repercussions. They're often scared of retribution. They're often scared of revenge. Sometimes it's a very real revenge. Like in this case, he's saying, look, this person could take away my livelihood. This person could reduce me to that little kid again who's scraping and scrambling for food and shelter and trust. And sometimes it's an inner fear that might not be grounded in anything practical. That is to say, you might be rich and famous and able to take care of yourself and still have that little abused child inside of you who's scared. That still may be the case. We got to hear that and understand that. And so even now, as he refuses or has been reluctant, at least so far, to share the name of the person, let's not assume that that's because he's trying to strong arm somebody, that he's trying to do a behind the scenes deal to get money from somebody in a civil suit before he releases their name. He's not blackmailing anybody necessarily. What he could be doing is, again, modeling and demonstrating that fear that little boy had. So what Christian Keys did today was give us more insight into his story. He gave us more insight into his reluctance to share, but he also gave us more insight into how harmed and traumatized and abused people have to wrestle with their disclosure. So hopefully, as he said, we can pray for him. We can give him some grace. We can be forgiving of any criticisms we may have of how he's dealing with this. And I don't have any criticisms of how he's dealing with it, but I'm saying if you do, maybe this will give you some insight and allow you to give him some mercy and some grace as we figure out what's right and as we pursue justice. All right, y'all. For more videos like this, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button right now if you like what's going on here. And if you're so inclined, hit the join button to become part of the MLH family. Peace.